adult. Okay, you guys, welcome to our Thursday team call. We're getting more and more official. I'm excited. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you to everyone for being on, by the way. I know that our guest speaker took her Valentine's Day evening to speak to us. Andre and I postponed our Valentine's Day evening for our call. We'll postpone it to tomorrow, but we did get a heart-shaped pizza today, and it was amazing. So our speaker today, I'm going to pull up everything. I asked her today, I was like, what are your many, many accolades? So most importantly, she's a wife and a mama. She's a hot mom. Oh my God. I was looking for pictures to shout her out, like to show you guys, like for our, basically like the call announcement. I'm like, oh my God, she's like really ripped. Oh my Lanta. Okay. 3-time elite coach, top 10 coach, currently in the top 10 at number 7, like as of, they announced that on Friday, I think. So crushing it. She's a Success Club 10 legend. And I shared this with you guys last week. Like whenever I read all these accolades, I always feel like that's the most important one. It just shows like why they are where they are. It's consistency over time. She was previously number 5 in the company. She's a coach advisory member. She started coaching in 2015, like a hot second ago. Amazing. So she's going to talk to you guys about growth, about how she plans. She's the author of this puppy that I stalked our Canada Post lady for. I'm clearly a psycho with packages. So Moira, I'm going to promote you to panelist. I swear if it doesn't work, promote to wait, oh my God, because there's people hopping on, so it's like bumping it. I don't want to promote the wrong person and freak anyone out. And I wanted to say her full name for her as I like presented her, but I always, Moira Kusaba, am I saying that right? Change role. Okay, one second. I'm going to make you a unmute audio. Moira, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Make Moira the co-host of this meeting. Hi.
Hi.
Am I muted? Am I muting people?
This is so fun.
It's me again. Can you guys hear?
Can you guys hear me?
It's always just me on my end that I can't hear anything.
Oh, they said yes.
I'll fix it. I want to be able to hear you. That's why. Guys, one day I will get this right. Always technical difficulties. I think
I'm terrible at technology.
To uno momento. I know.
They said they can hear both. Can you hear me?
No. What?
Angie, can you hear me?
No.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Okay. Turn up your volume.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Thanks, babe.
Thanks, Andre. Oh my gosh. You guys, I am so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being on, Moira, and on Valentine's Day and everything. I appreciate it. I'm literally so excited. Okay, I'm not taking up any of your time. Crush it.
I'm thrilled to be here, you guys. Like, you have, as your leader, like one of my favorite humans on the entire planet. Truly, 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 truly. Like every single time, even right now, I just hear her speak for just a couple minutes. It like brings me, you know, those people that you connect with and it just like brings you to like the next level. That's totally how I feel with Angie. And let me tell you a quick little story. So I will never forget when Angie spoke on Amy Silverman's call. I was a brand new baby coach and with like big goals. And I was so terrified to ask her a question. This was like literally 2 years ago, 2016 probably. And I was like, but I was the girl that was like, so how many coaches do you recruit? How many coaches get successful? And she was like, I remember you saying like, I like this, you know, because we truly have so much of the same everything. And, you know, we were chatting about like what I wanted to talk about tonight. And you guys, obviously, when you write a book, it encompasses every single thing that you want to say. So I am in no way here trying to promote anything, but I was like, but it's like, this is it. This is like my Bible, you know, it's truly the Bible. And I remember when I sent it to Craig Collier and our coach development team, that was their response. They're like, this is the Bible. This is like the Bible. I'm like, yes, it's the Bible of coaching. But the other interesting thing, you don't have to have the book. You don't need to even get the book. But I kind of want to walk you through it because it's all of my processes. And one thing that I think I do really well, and this book also displays that, is I'm really, really, really like into my energy level and upping my vibration and setting my intentions and my morning process and all of that, which sounds woo-woo, but I'm also equally into like the numbers and the business and the systems and all of that. And I think when you can have both of those things, they're not necessarily like strengths of mine that I was born with, but I've cultivated both of those, and they're kind of different ends of the spectrum. And you have to have both to be successful in this business, you know? So it was interesting. Somehow in our conversation, Angie asked me about like any struggle points. And I was like, oh, do you mean the first thing I have people do in the book? Do you want me to tell you where that exercise came from? So there's an exercise in this book, and it's just something fun that I would love for you guys to do. I'm going to open up the chat too. Something that I would really, really like call to action here. I want you guys to actually do this right now or as soon as you get off the call. So let's go back 1 year. I'm the number 5 coach in all of Beachbody, like on a freaking pink cloud. I'm a top 10 coach. All my dreams have come true. And it's mid-February, literally a year ago. And I have 4 Success Club points and 0 coaches signed up. And I don't know where I'm going to even get my next 2 Success Club points. I don't know where I'm going to get my next coach. And I am struggling, like to the point where it's like the plane's going down in flames. Life coaches are on the calls, like, like I got to turn this around, because my expectation was I'm going to become a top 10 coach and people are going to start coming to me. Guess what, you guys? That does not happen. Ever, at least not for me. It didn't happen. It didn't happen all year. It continues to not happen. I have to develop relationships every day. I have to have conversations every day. I have to invite every single day. But what I did to turn that around, I knew it was my mindset. It's never the business practices, because I've done the same thing for a lot of years, and I have really great months and really, really hard months. And so it all boils down to where am I in my head? And so I was really clear in mid-February with how much my life sucked and my business sucked. And I mean, that's really how I felt. Like everything sucked. And I hated not recruiting coaches. I hated how it felt to struggle so hard for 4 Success Club points as the number 5 coach. I hated that my team was not doing what I wanted them to do. Like all I could see, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, was all of these negatives. And when we're focused on those negatives get worse. They don't get better. And so all I did was capture on a piece of paper all the things that I did not like about my life right then. Low Success Club points, not recruiting coaches, my team's not hustling, my social media sucks, whatever, like all the things, everything you can think of was what I was obsessing on. And I flipped everyone around. I literally just took the other side of the paper and I wrote the opposite. All I wrote was, I love how it feels when I hit high Success Club points, because that had happened. That was a real thing. We all freaking love how it feels when we hit high Success Club points. I could feel that. I wasn't lying to myself when I said, I love how it feels to hit high Success Club points. And I think what's important is, I think people get tripped up on affirmations, because if you don't feel like they're true at all, then you can't feel them. And when we're setting intentions or we're speaking affirmations, it's not just to speak them. Like speaking them to me in my world does nothing. I have to feel them. I have to feel my way to that higher energy place versus that like low dark hole. And so I would say things to myself like, I love knowing that my dream team coaches are being drawn to me in this very moment. And I will tell you guys, I use that when I'm stuck in traffic. I use that when there's a slow cashier and I'm getting in that negative emotion. I'm like, oh my God, I got stuff to do. And I'm like, I love knowing that my dream team coaches are being drawn to me right in this very moment. Like you've got to get into the positive emotional space. And I know this might sound crazy, you guys, but like even when, if my husband and I are arguing, that affects my business. Like any negative thing. If I'm pissed off in traffic, if I'm irritated in a grocery store line, that affects my business. Every single thing affects your business. But in a nutshell, your emotional state affects your business. So you can't afford, if you've got big goals in here, to have any of that negative emotion. It's funny because when I'm mad at my husband, I get even more mad because I'm mad at him and I know it's affecting my business. Like, stop it. I can't be mad at you. So you just take those statements, write out 5 or 10 of them. And because sometimes it's hard to get clear on what we want to create, but it's really easy to know what we don't want. But all you guys got to do is write that down and flip it on its head. Write the opposite in the next column. And that was a huge, huge shift. And I started to like grab onto those like mantras almost and just like walk around with them. And I finally turned my emotional state around. And guess what? March, I had the best month of the whole entire year. The whole entire year, because there was so much intention around me getting to that higher vibration, whatever you want to call it. Vision is everything to me. I have shared this on the stage at Summit, at Leadership on the Stage. This is something that I did as a brand new coach that I feel like made all the difference in the entire world. So I was YouTube stalking top coaches. Even before I was like interested in coaching, I was just like super skeptical and I was like watching them and listening to them. And what I didn't realize I was doing was I was learning a whole lot. Like a whole lot of the best tips and tricks and everything. And there was a Lindsay Matway video, and she talked about, you know, in 2 to 3 years, you have in front of you the opportunity to completely transform your life. If you work really hard, you have the opportunity in your lap where in 2 to 3 years, you could have all the financial freedom you want and all the time freedom you want. So what would that look like for you? And she said, write it down. Go home and write down in 2 to 3 years, if I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, what would that look like? And you guys, I've laid in bed and thought like, what if we win the lottery when we haven't even bought a lottery ticket? You know, what if like things that aren't real? But I had never, ever had an opportunity in my grasp that was real enough to think about things for the first time in my life. Like, would we live here? Because we live in Charleston, South Carolina, because my husband started a business right out of college and he's had it for 20 years. We're never going to leave Charleston. But wait a second. If I'm out earning him and we have all the financial freedom in the world, would we live here? Do I really want to live in Charleston? I don't know. I'd never pondered it. I'd never gotten beyond my small world. And the power of writing that down, and I think this is so much bigger than your why. Because I think your why, you know, I could ask Angie what her why is and she'd probably give me a sentence. A sentence for me, I can give you my why, but a sentence does not stick and push and motivate me every single day of my life. A vision for who I want my kids to grow into, of the way that we want to give back to our community, the team that I'm going to create and the type of women that they're made of, and the change that we're going to make in the world, and like all of those layers that just go so deep, that fires me up. And here's the caveat, you guys. We've all done vision boards. We've all probably written out our vision, but we stick it on a shelf or we stick it in a drawer. You might as well not write the vision. You might as well not do the vision board. What I did and I didn't know, it just made me feel good, right? My vision like made me feel really excited. So I started to put that in my morning process. I just would read my personal development and then I'd pull out that chicken scratch piece of paper and I would read it. And I was so filled with wanting to create that for my family and for myself so much that I did the work every single day. And I read the vision every single day. You guys, like, I'm not joking when I say wherever that vision is, whatever journal that vision's in, it goes with me in my purse. I've never flown out of town without my vision tucked in my bag. You know, if I'm in a hotel, if I'm at my in-laws' house, if I'm at my brother's house, like wherever I am, I wake up and I read that vision every single day, every single day. So that is hugely, hugely powerful. I think another part of this book, just because this really serves as a really great framework to speak. And this is where I get into kind of the reverse engineering of your goals and like the number side that I also love. You've got to reverse engineer your goals. So this, and you have to like actually do this on paper, right? So if you want to be, because I'm guessing there's a lot of people on this call that want to be 5-star elite by the end of the year, right? Guessing? Drop your end of year goal in the chat. I'd love to see it. What is your end of year goal? Oh, I love that. By Summit. 15-star by Summit. Yes, that's amazing. Elite, yes, 5-star elite, 5-star elite, 3 diamonds, 2-star by Summit. Oh my gosh, 15. I love it. 5-star, 5-star. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so you guys, you have to look at this from like a calendar perspective. So all you have to do, and this is super simple, but reverse engineering your goals sounds like kind of complicated. So let's say it's 5-star by the end of the year. Cut the year in half. That's pretty much Summit. I would say, just to give yourself a little wiggle room, that you got to be 3-star by Summit, right? If you cut that 6-month mark in half and you go March 31st, then, okay, if I'm going to be 3-star by halfway through the year, then I got to be 1 to 2-star by March 31st. And then Beachbody has this wonderful thing called 6-week qualification. So 6 weeks from March 31st is actually right freaking now, today, literally today. So if your 5-star elite goal by the end of the year, are you 1 to 2, did you just go into 1 to 2-star qual today? And it's scary to reverse engineer your goals because most of us realize we're really freaking not on track. We're like, oh shit, I got to start hustling. But if you don't know that and look at the calendar, then all of a sudden, you guys, it's September or October and you thought you were going to be 5-star and you are so let down and you are so devastated and you might quit, right? Because it's just, you just feel like a failure. If you had known on February 14th that you were that far off track, then you can correct course. You can meet with your upline and say, you know, we're 6 weeks into the year. What I'm doing doesn't look like it's working. I'm not recruiting enough coaches. I will tell you, because I love like equations, because I love absolutes. And I was at my team leader conference or team leader retreat last year in Utah. And it was like, it just like blindsided me. I was like 100 coaches. You need to sign up 100 coaches to be a 5-star elite coach. Because for me, about 1 out of every 20 will go diamond, which is a tough pill to swallow, right? So if you have to recruit 100 coaches this year if you're a new coach and you're like, okay, I don't have any coaches and I want to be 5-star by the end of the year, you have to recruit 100 coaches that want something to do with the business. Because discount coaches don't even count in that equation, you guys. They're discount coaches. 20 coaches that are like, I think I might want to do this. You know, one of them might be like, I want to be elite. I want to do what you're doing. A lot of them are just interested. But I truly believe for every 20 coaches that I recruit that say they want to do this, one of them goes diamond. That is a tough pill to swallow, but it's a reality check. Because if you're recruiting 2 coaches a month, you're going to have 24 coaches at the end of the year. 24! That's not very close to 100. So when you know that, everything changes. Everything changes. Because what happens to every coach is we recruit our first 5 or 10 coaches, and we think we're going to be 5 to 10 star because we just recruited 5 to 10 coaches. And then you feel like a failure. Then you feel like you're not cut out for this business. Then you feel like you're not doing it like everybody else is doing it. You are doing it just like everybody else is doing it. It's just different numbers. It's just different numbers. And that goes for things like, I love using this simple analogy or story that so many of my coaches come to me. You've got to like write down how many people you're inviting, how many people you're onboarding, all of this. Because so many of my coaches will come to me and they're like, oh, Moira, I am like doing everything and I've hit Success Club 12 months in a row, but I can't get to 10. Like it's always 6 or 8. It's always 6 or 8. And I can't get over the hump. I can't get to 10. And I'm like, well, how many people are you inviting a month? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, then I really can't help you. Because if you told me the number that you were inviting, guess what I would tell you? Oh, double that and you'll hit 10 or 12 or 14. It's that simple, you guys. But if you don't know your numbers, you can't change your output. You can't change what's coming back to you. You know, if you look down and you're like, and I'm just throwing out vague numbers here. If you say I'm inviting 200 a month and I'm hitting Success Club 8 every single month, and you want to hit 20, well, then you got to invite 400. You got to invite 400 to 450. You know, like that's all it is. And when it becomes an equation for you, all the negative emotion, like I'm all about the positive emotion, but I'm all about getting the negative emotion out of it. And you can go, oh, I'm just not planting enough seeds. I'm just not inviting enough. Instead of, oh my gosh, I don't know how to have conversations with people. I don't know how to close the deal. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And you're spending all this time trying to figure it out. You've just got to look at part of this business as a numbers game. And I don't mean that in like a cold-hearted way, because nothing fills my heart more than like connecting with my team and my challengers and my coaches and pouring into them. That is like what makes me happy in life. But knowing the numbers of the business gets all the negative emotion out of it for me, all of it. So then as we go in, like, of course, you're setting what I would say, and this is also another reverse engineering tip. So I don't know about you guys on your team, but we always, at the very first of the month, everybody puts up like what their goals are for the month. So everybody will pop in like SC40, recruit 10 coaches, advance to 2-star, or whatever those goals are. Do me a favor and please take your SC goal for the month or your coach recruiting goal, but say, let's just keep it simple. Say it's Success Club, and cut that in fourths so you have a weekly goal. Because if you have SC40, or let's just keep it simple and say SC20. If your goal is SC20 by the end of the month, then at the end of the very first week, your ass better be at 5. Otherwise, you're not on the right path. And every single month, you're going to put up those goals and say SC20, 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 and you're going to fail every single time. And that is going to chip away at you. So this is a perfect example, too, of how a weekly goal in this business will force your hand and dial in your activities. So I was going to speak at Ashley Smith's retreat in Atlanta a few weeks ago. And we got in the car. It was a Friday morning. I work less on Fridays. There's just not like 5,000 messages coming into my inbox. So it's like, oh, it's Friday. And we're going to this amazing like retreat place. And so I get in the car. I've got my coffee. My husband's driving. And I'm like kicking back to work. Kicking back to like post on social media, return some messages. And I glance over in my planner. And I see where it said, where on Sunday night it's Friday. On Sunday night, I wrote what my weekly goal was. And it was at the very end of the month. And it was SC60. And my butt was at SC52. And I was like, oh, I don't like to fail you guys. And I remember asking Brian very quickly, what's our ETA? How much longer do we have till we get there? And he said 3.5 hours. And I got to work. I was like, I need to sell 4 challenge packs by the time I get out of this car, because I'm going to hit that SC60 goal and I'm going to enjoy myself when we get to this amazing place. And my activities and my messages and my follow-up and my urgency and my energy was totally different in those 3.5 hours versus working for 3.5 hours, doing nothing that really moved my business forward or my bottom line. So weekly goals are huge, huge. And write them down where you can see them. Because if I hadn't just looked over to the left on that page and saw SC60 that morning, I would have totally forgotten that I wrote that down on Sunday night. It just would have been completely out the window. I think you also need to track things like, especially if you're going for elite, you guys, you have to have a goal for how many coaches you want to get in Success Club every month. How many coaches do you want to get into Success Club? This has like little bubbles. I swear to God, Angie, like this is new to me too, like, because it's everything I've ever wanted. And like, obviously I created it. So it's like so fun. But every single morning I open up my back office. This was never my behavior for the last 3.5 years. Every single morning I open my back office and I see if I can fill in a bubble. I'm like, I want to fill in a bubble. Who at Success Club? I've got this goal for my PS coaches, but it also, because I have a goal for how many coaches I want to help get into Success Club, my behaviors are directed in that direction. I am conscious of who those people are. I know who's at 2. I know who's at 4. I'm just, it's as simple as like little voicemails like, hey girl, how you doing? Oh my God, I saw that you got 2 more Success Club points. You only have 1 more to go. Those little tiny touches, I think, make all the difference. So you've got to have those goals. How many new challengers do you want? How many new coaches do you want? Those are kind of basic goals. But how many coaches do you want to help get into Success Club? And this is another one that I love. How many personally sponsored coaches do you want to help rank advance this month? Rank advance to Emerald, rank advance to Diamond, rank advance to Star Diamond. It really starts to drive those behaviors of just helping your coaches even get to Emerald, So just be tracking all of that. So something I want to talk about in here, because I've really only done a couple of these calls where I've actually like walked people through the whole planner. But this one part, it's just how I've always operated. So it's not like news to me. It's just what I do. And people are like, mind blown. So I don't want to ever contradict anything Angie's teaching you, but this is just how I do it. Every coach does things differently. And you always just got to kind of pick and choose what works for you. But I have always had, literally this started from me just saying to myself, like, oh my gosh, I can't forget these people's names. And I just introduced Streak into my life. And I really want you guys to understand that I got to number 5 in the company with 4,000 followers on Instagram. And I basically built my whole business through my Facebook personal page. So you can do really extraordinary things in this business without a massive following. I just started building Instagram 1 year ago exactly. Probably not even that. Probably like 10 months ago, I really started to build my Instagram and put intention behind it. A year ago, I had never even liked people's pictures on Instagram. Like, that's how little I was using Instagram. Instagram is now where it's at. I'm on board. I'm on the train finally. But one thing I want you to really understand is like, somebody said, one of my coaches always says, your diamond is built with the people that are at your dinner table. Like, you can build your diamond with the people that come over to dinner, like your mom, your sister, your besties, your neighbor, whatever. Like, you want to pass this amazing gift on. You can build a diamond business with the people at your dinner table. And I used to love that she said that. And then one day I realized not that long ago, I was like, wait a second. I pretty much built to superstar with the people at my dinner table. They are all warm market. They're I think 1 or 2 of my diamonds for superstar I met through like the internet coaching, like the other 10, 11, 12, I've known them at some point in my life. And I think that speaks volumes because there was a trust there. There was a relationship there. And so it's a lot harder when you get into your cold market because like people just like poof, disappear and like don't care because who are you? You know what I mean? So really cultivate that warm market and those relationships. So what I was going to say about inviting though. So I've always invited like a boss from day one. Like now we've shifted so much into like mass inviting with Instagram. A couple years ago, it was like ridiculous to invite 20 people a day. Now people are inviting like 50 people a day. It's crazy. But what I always did was I would cast out a ton of invites. And I might give you a heart attack here, but I never tracked any of those invites because I was inviting a lot of people. And if I wrote down 500 names a month back then, that was a lot. If I wrote down 500 people's names on a sheet of paper, then in month 6, I would have a book like this with 3,000 names in it and like just complete overwhelm, no idea like what to do with those 3,000 names. It gets really overwhelming if you track every single person. So the little shift that I've done from day one is I send out all the invites, and the second they express interest, they ask a question, anything, their name goes on my list. And it just said, I wrote above on the top of a piece of paper one day, customer hot list. And then I started talking to coaches and I was like, coach hot list. And I had 2 loose leaf pieces of paper that went everywhere with me for 2.5 years in the business. I got to number 5 with 2 loose leaf pieces of paper. And this actually is kind of funny because I was sitting at a CAB meeting last February in Utah and Doug Moss was like, what you got there? And I was like embarrassed. I was like, oh, my random 2 sheets of paper system. And he's the one that was like, it obviously works. And I was like, wait a second, he's right. It's obviously worked. And I think because I had less names written down, I developed more relationships, more depth with fewer people. And I'm not saying fewer as in like a few, because don't make that mistake, you guys. I probably have 50, and I'm not a super high Success Club point earner, by the way. I know I said 60, like, last month, I think I hit 68. That was the highest Success Club points I've ever hit. I'm like an SC 40 girl. That's like where my comfort zone is. So when I have about 40 to 50 conversations going back and forth every single month, so like 40 to 50 people are this close to saying yes, right? They're like asking all the questions. I'm giving them all the information. I'm asking them all the questions, 40 to 50 people. 20 of those 50 will actually enroll that month. So if I have 50 names written down for my January hot list and 20 of them sign up, and all I do is circle their name on the piece of paper when they sign up, that means they've signed up. That's how I track that. And when it hits and rolls over to February 1st, the very first, and I love the first of the month because I love to hit Success Club on the first of the month. So what I do is I go back to my January list and I follow up with all the names that aren't circled. And I usually hit Success Club because those people were that close the previous month. But here's the magic of it, you guys. Then I go back to my December hot list and the names that aren't circled. I go back to my November hot list. I can go back now 3 years if I wanted to. So nobody's getting lost. Nobody's falling through the cracks. But I'm not tracking 400 people a month that ghosted me. Unless they're like the dream coach. And then they go on another list. Then they go on a list of like, this is my dream team list. But it just makes this really, really simple. I think the most important thing, and is this call an hour, Angie, or am I supposed to talk for like 5 minutes?
Oh my God, you can talk for 10 hours. I feel like everyone is like just drinking their Valentine's Day wine and loving all of this talk.
Oh my
I wrote
God.
in the chat, like, this is like sexy talk to me. Honestly, we usually go for an hour. So
okay, good. I just want to make sure we didn't chat about that. I assume. But it makes it really simple. And I think those two things, and like when I have chatted with corporate, because corporate like actually loves this concept, I told them, I said, listen, I talked to Carl about it. I said, Carl, it's my belief from my perspective that two things take people out of the game: being overwhelmed and focusing on the negatives. And if you can simplify the systems and make this just really freaking simple for people, and you can get people in a positive place and to focus on their wins, you've got a coach for life, and you're going to end up having a successful coach. So the other thing, I guess I should ask you guys if you have any questions, because that was a whole lot of information on like tracking and points and reverse engineering and all the things. But you guys go for it and drop in the chat if you have any questions.
I was going to stop you at one point, but you were on a roll.
Go for it.
Whenever you said that you got to 15 star with your warm market, I knew it was coming, but a couple people were saying like, what if my warm market doesn't support me? Then what? And I kind of felt that way in the beginning. Like, honestly, for me, like I honestly kind of limited myself because I was like, well, my warm market doesn't support me, so I'm going to go hide on Instagram. And really they did. I was just scared.
Yeah.
So whether it's like a fear of what people are going to think, or if people have said that they don't support you, you just think that they won't support, like it can be a mixture. So what are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people are like, how do I warm my cold market, or my warm market is cold, or blah, 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 blah.
So I'll tell you this, and when I say warm market, I was always adding like 20, 25 people a day on Facebook, but through my warm market. So say Angie was one of my besties and she wasn't a coach, but I adore Angie and her people are probably my people. I would just go to Angie's friends list, and there's probably 30 people on her friends list that I have mutual friends in common with, but we're not connected on Facebook yet. And I would add friend, because it's super easy for me to go like, oh my God, how do you know Angie? It is a warm market. We're just not connected yet. And I'm adding them to my network. But let me really point this out, because I think this is important to that whole warm market thing. I always say that like what got me to 5-star was like the Bad News Bears, guys. And I loved like talking because my team like would die laughing to hear that. So I remember calling my brother and asking him to join me in this business. He's like the biggest most skeptical person on the planet. And he's like, no way, I could never. He had all the excuses in the world. And he's like, but I think you should call Jen, his wife. And I was like, she's never worked out in her life. She's the most negative, depressed person on the planet. I'm sorry, but like, what are you thinking? Guess what? She's one of my multiple star diamonds. So don't discount people either. You know, my very first diamond was a girl that came into my challenge group, like a friend, a mommy friend, you know, in our community. And she always says, I love junk food and I hate to exercise. And this changed her life. You know, she became a different person and wanted to pay that forward to other people. So like my first 5 coaches were like a batch like that. Like they were people that I would have never thought would be diamond coaches, especially diamond coaches 3 years later. But this is what I did with them. So I had been a coach for about 4 months. The year turned over. It was the beginning of 2016. And I had really big goals. And I had a team of the Bad News Bears. And I was like, all right, what are we going to do here? And I just said to them, hey, I know they had they wanted to hit Success Club and like earn a trip, you know, but they weren't like hustling. And I got on a call with them every single week, one-on-one. I'm telling you, like 50% of the time they were like, oh my God, Moira, I totally forgot about our call. I'm at Target. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. So, and I would build a relationship with them. And what I realized is sometimes there was no business talk, but we became best friends. We were all running a challenge group together. We were all texting together like all day, every day. And I built really deep relationships with those women. And they weren't going anywhere. And when Cece, the one that hated exercise and like had never exercised a day in her life and just wanted to eat candy all day, went diamond first, everyone was like, oh no, she didn't. Oh no, she didn't. And I took her to the spa because I just thought that'd be a fun thing to do to celebrate. And everyone else wanted to go to the spa because we were so close. No one wanted to be left behind. That is how I got to 5-star. What I will also tell you is my powerhouses, my coach Erin Hopkins is ranked number 19 right now. That's never happened before. Where I'm like, wait, those are my coaches. This is insane. She totally was a fellow fitness person in town that talked a lot of smack about me, you guys, that judged me. And my team will tell you, and they tell me through tears, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You changed my life, because they were the people that were judging me. And I had to be stronger than that. And I had to lean into the lives that I was changing and the people's lives that were changing in my challenge group to rise above that and put my blinders on. But those girls came around. Those girls came around a year and a half later, and now they're 6-figure earners and top elite coaches. So don't let that get you down. Like if I had let the judgment take me out of the game, it would have taken me out of the game. So don't let that happen. At the end of the day, do you add those papers, loose leaf to streak? I don't. So here's something interesting that happened last fall. I was like, I've got to do streak. Like, this is crazy. I'm like where I am in my business and I'm still using pen and paper. And I just hate technology, you guys. So I tried to do streak and I lost my handle, because I feel like for me, there's something tangible about like a name on a piece of paper and a pen in my hand. And I tried to put them all in streak. And then I was just like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. I don't know where the conversations are. I need to like circle and star things and write notes in the columns. Like, I am such a paper and pen girl. And I gave in to the pressure to conform to the top coaches. And I was like, screw it. My business just tanked. I'm going back to my 2 sheets of paper. And now they're in here. So there's a page each month that says Coach Hot List, Customer Hot List, which is really amazing because I can literally just flip back every month and like look at all the people and it's all in one place. So that's amazing. So what do you do with all the paper so I literally like 3-hole punch it and put it in a binder. So like all my hot lists are just in a binder and I can flip that open. But now the nice thing is I'll just have a book per year. Yes, have to write everything on paper first. Old school, totally. I also think there's something energetic about writing. You know, I really believe, like, you guys are going to think I'm like the craziest person in the world. I just shared with my challenge group yesterday. I'm sure, I don't know, some of you have maybe seen these studies where like there's a glass of water and like the word love is spoken to it, and there's a glass of water and the word death is spoken to it, and they freeze the water and they put it under a microscope, and it's like, in the death one, it's like knives and shards of glass, and in the love one, it's like the most beautiful snowflakes in the world. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so I really believe in, like, there's something about writing someone's name down. There's more intention. There's more energy into that person. I don't know. There's something about writing names down that's really powerful. So let me, I do want to move on to this last thing, and then I'll open it up for questions. So there's a place for notes section, notes on like National Wake Up Call and Team Call, which is really cool, because the very first time I actually had like the proof of this, I was like, holy crap, this is kind of powerful. I had never been on a National Wake Up Call with a pen in my hand. I had always been on a National Wake Up Call with my phone in my hand, meaning I'm responding to messages. I'm half-assed listening to the National Wake Up Call. And the cool thing is it says National Wake Up Call, and then it says takeaways and actions. So that little shift, every single time I sit down to listen to a National Wake Up Call now, I am literally like, where's the takeaway? What am I going to write down? What am I going to write down? Instead of just writing notes after notes after notes, I'm like, what are the key takeaways? And what are the key actions that I'm going to take immediately after I get off this call? That is a game changer. And now my whole team is doing that, which if you can duplicate something like that in your team, and we just screenshot it when we're on the call, and like I get to see other people's takeaways from the call, which is really, really powerful to do as a team. But the last section is everything, I think. So the last section is what I call, my team calls it the book of proof, or you can call it a book of wins. So you guys, I got sober when I was 21. So that was like, I want to say 3 years ago, but it was 20. It was 20 years ago. I cannot believe I'm that old. But I got sober when I was 21. And so I have kept a gratitude journal for a million years. So like, I'm all about the gratitude. I am all about the love and focusing on the good. But after 20 years, like that had gotten a little stale for me. Like it wasn't getting the job done. And it also a lot of times on bad days was like my house, my husband, my kids, my dog, like just so like generic, you know, like, okay, I'm grateful for these, like, there's a roof over my head, you know, those types of things. Like that wasn't really shifting my energy. And so what I decided to do was take my team through this process at the beginning of last year on keeping a book of proof, because there's something powerful about proof. And so what that looked like and how I explained it to them is I said, okay, you've written this vision out for your life. You have these big dreams of whatever it is, whatever your vision is. There is proof in your life every single day that something is coming to fruition. But you have to choose to see it. You have to choose to look for it. And so, of course, it's easy when it's like, I hit SC6 or I signed up 2 coaches. But that's where my team was getting a little stuck. They're like, well, Moira, some days there's not proof that my vision's coming true. And I'm like, does your vision only say your Success Club points and your coach recruits? Your vision says a whole lot more than that. And so like I can remember just like a month ago, and I literally, so my vision and my book of wins, it's like the bookends of my life and my day. My vision in the morning and my book of wins at night. And so about a month ago, I had a really crappy day. I don't even remember what was going on. I just remember it was a really bad day. And I was getting on a call with Amy Rada. And I remember that so specifically because we got on the call and I was like, I don't even remember what we talked about, but I was in a bad place. And I went to write in my book of wins that night, and I had had a really bad day. And I was like, there's nothing to write. And then I thought, wait a second. It's been my dream from day one to work with other top 10 coaches, to have amazing relationships with other women in this business that I love. And I got to spend an hour just sharing my heart and like just being with Amy. Like honest to God, that's probably a bigger dream of mine than income or Success Club points or anything. It's like the relationships. So that is, I instantly saw that like that day was the biggest win of all. The bad day was a huge win. And here's the power of your book of wins. And I'll like flip to mine. So it's like literally just scribble on a paper, right? I usually write 1 or 2 sentences. And the power of this journal is not that I'm writing down my book of wins tonight. The power of this journal is I quickly look up and I see that I wrote yesterday, Erin is 19, Lauren is number 39. My team is crushing it. Coaches are starting to stack up and sign up every day. Oh, this was yesterday. I napped for 2 hours yesterday. I flew out home on a red eye from Los Angeles. I like hit the wall. I took a nap for 2 hours yesterday, you guys. That's like ridiculous. That hasn't happened since I probably started coaching. And I wrote down people's names that I like, you know, when you find your people on Instagram and like you forget about them. I wrote down someone's name on Monday night because I was so excited to connect with them on Instagram. I wrote down my new coaches' names that I'm just like head over heels in love with. Our house sold in 1 day. Like that, our house sold in 1 day. I can forget about that the next day. And I'm like focused on the negative. And I glance up tonight and I go, holy shit, I forgot our house sold in 1 day. In 1 day. Oh my God, I'm number 7 right now in the company. 7. Like, that's how quickly I can go from feeling like, oh my God, there weren't any wins today. And I just glance up the page and see the day before and the day before and the day before. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be number 1 in the company. Like, just life is just insane. Life is freaking nuts. It's amazing. That's the power of your book of proof. You will not be able to feel like a failure in this business if you keep a book of proof. You won't. Because Angie will call your ass out and say, open up that book of proof and read it. You are not failure. You are not struggling. Look at the wins. I mean, you guys, in life in general, if every human being did this, it would change the quality of their life so extraordinarily. And Angie knows this. This reminds me of my first UPW, well, my only UPW, Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. And I remember him posing the question, what determines the quality of your life? And I remember really being stumped. And he didn't give us the answer right away. It was like, what determines the quality of your life? And I was like, I couldn't really figure that out. And after a while, after he got some answers from the audience and everything, he said, it's your emotional states. It's the emotional states that you live in. Because you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the success. You can have the cars, the house, the wife, the everything. And if you are stressed out or angry or unhappy, the quality of your life sucks and it doesn't matter what you have. And so think about the emotional states that you are living in. Generally speaking, most of society is irritated, frustrated, glass half empty, judgy. I am not that way anymore. Like, I am so aware of my emotional state. That's why I love like texting with Angie, because I'm like, she just brought my state up just like that. Like, it's so fun. You've got to surround yourself with that positivity, but you also have to take initiative for your own life. Reading your vision in the morning and keeping that book of wins are 2 of the most powerful things that you can do in your life to shift it all. And I think a lot of times people are like, read my vision, keep a journal. What's that going to do for my business? And I'm like, it's going to do everything for your business. Everything. So it's 8:49. I want to open it up for questions or whatever you want to say, Angie. I would love to hear.
Like, so good. If you guys have questions, now is the time to ask. I so relate to what you're talking about being able to talk to, like, connecting with the other leaders in the company. And that was something huge for me because my first goal as a coach was to do a dream board with a friend. And I was like, I have no circle of friends that would want to do a vision board or dream board with me, and they would laugh at me. And now it's like, I have like just so many empowering women around me. And one thing, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but one thing that motivated me so much to succeed in this business was to be able to connect with the other top coaches. Like I hustled so hard to be able to, like, I remember, so I did to Moira what a coach had done to me. I went to message Moira the other day, just telling her how awesome she was. And I was like, she messaged me in 2016 and I didn't even see it. Like that happened. And I'm like, well, so I voiced one. I'm like, well, here I am to tell you how awesome you are. And I had not answered. Oh, I'm an asshole. But that happened to me whenever I was a new coach. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hustle my way to be her friend. And it was Trina Gray. And I was like, you know what? She'll eventually answer me. I feel like that's like so motivating. Anyways, so I feel like so blessed to be your friend, and I want to go to Bora Bora with you.
I know it's happening, girlfriend. It's totally happening. It's totally happening. And that's a shift. So last year, you know, I ended up number 14, and I had some star diamonds fall out at the very end in qual, which was devastating because that was really cost me top 10, not to defend my title, but I became, and I just want you to hear this, I became number 5. And that year before I became a top 10 coach, it was like, you guys, we can do this. Let's be a top 10 team. And I hadn't received like the glory of that yet. And then I did. And then I started to play small. I was afraid that people would think, and my team would think ill of me if I needed to be top 10 again, you know, and I started to play small, and I started to not talk about what those big goals were anymore. And I started to tell myself things like, well, I did it. I proved it to myself. I proved it to our team what we can do. Like, check the box. I don't need it again. And I realized that it was, you know, my own fears and insecurities that were playing into that. And I was afraid to say I wanted top 10 again because I also like love and hate competition. You know, it's like, I love competition, but I'm really also like really competitive with myself. I'm really not competitive with other people. Like when there's a lot of other competitive people around, I'm like, I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to go. I'm out. Like I'm going back to the house. And, you know, so it's goodness gracious. Talk about a test of character being around like the top 10 coaches. I will also tell you that I got to number 5 very, very differently, because I think it's important to hear that the year that I was number 5, I recruited between 5 and 15 coaches a month. 5 and 15. Everyone else was recruiting like 40 to 50 coaches a month. I still have no idea how to recruit 40 to 50 coaches a month, but I also know that I don't want to necessarily for me, that because when I recruited between 5 and 15 and I did like averaged it out, it was literally an average of 10 a month, that I developed my coaches. I poured into my coaches. I also had more time to do that because I wasn't trying to manage 50 of them. So know that you can do, just like I said in the beginning, really big things without thinking that you have to compete number wise, you know, and it's all in your head. It's all in your head. So I was coming home. I actually told my husband this tonight. I was like, God, this is such a mind. I was driving home with my daughter yesterday, and she's like, Mommy, you're number 7. And she's like, I think you should be number 1. And I said to her, well, babe, I said, because she knows a lot of you guys. And she was like, well, I said, well, Ashley, Amy, she knows Amy Silverman. She's my upline. I was like, Amy, Melanie, and Ashley are like uncatchable. I can't do that. I was like, I can't compete with that. They're just so far out in front. So maybe we'll go for 4 or 5. And you know what my 8-year-old little girl said to me? She goes, but Mommy, didn't you like beat her by a lot last year? And I was like, how did I forget? How did I forget that the person that I was already making up in my head, I was already putting that limiting belief in my head that I can't compete with those girls. I ended up number 5 that year that Amy ended up, I don't know where she was, like 8 or 9 or something. And I just like, it was such a moment for me to realize like, even at this level of the game, even at this level of my mindset, it still trips me up all the time, you know?
Love. I feel like my husband's going to tell me to make my book of wins like right now.
Is he listening?
Yeah, he's in the kitchen listening.
Andre
loves you. So this was incredible. I have so much to tell you. but like I feel like we are kindred souls in more ways than you might realize. Andrea's like, hola. So if no one else has any questions, we can let Moira get on with her freaking evening. And I feel like you gave us like so much. You guys, I posted all of the information. Everyone was commenting like, where do I get the book? I posted all the information in the team groups.
Well, thank you.
Moira, honestly, like above and beyond. I took so many notes.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I
so
love you so much. I mean, you guys are so freaking lucky to have Angie as your leader. You are like no idea. Like so lucky. I just love you to pieces.
I'm going to message you like right after this because I feel like, yeah, we're the sames. I'm dying. All right. Thank you so much. I love you to bits and pieces. Have an amazing evening, you guys. Thank you for being on. I love all of you guys. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.